Hello everyone. Thank you for hanging in there. We just had a tiny little technical glitch, but we are back. So I'm going to start over at the top and tell you guys that I am so excited to be here, but I'm also a little bit sad because this class has been so amazing. It has filled my heart to watch you all interact and make these beautiful flowers, and the community that you formed on Facebook has been just overwhelmingly amazing. But that doesn't have to stop. So I have an announcement at the end that we'll talk about and kind of, where do we go from here? But before we get started, Anna, do you want to call out who is here with us today? Because we have a very international crowd.
We do have a very international crowd, and I know it's people joining from all different time zones. We have Denmark, UK, Turkey, Australia, Canada, East Coast, West Coast, even as close as Walla Walla, Washington.
Which is where I was born. So, and I'm also drinking Walla Walla coffee right here.
And I think we have somebody else joining us that's also from Walla Walla. I see your sister popped up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're from San Francisco.
Okay. Well, she's not from Walla Walla. She's from San Francisco. Hi, Deanna. Thanks for coming. So here we are. This is our last class, and I have so much to talk about today, so I'm going to try not to rush. I'm just going to calmly go through this, and if we go a little bit long, know that if you have to pop out, you can always come back and watch the replay. We should have the replay ready for you by the end of the day, by mid-afternoon, and it will be in the master class. So I wanted to kind of just give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll jump right in. So first of all, I'll talk about the materials that we'll be using to make arrangements. Then I'll be talking about techniques to prep your vases and to prep your flowers to make these arrangements. Then, of course, we're going to make the arrangement together. And I have to tell you guys, to be totally transparent here, I haven't made this arrangement yet. All the components are sitting here, so we're going to do it together. It's going to be a nice surprise for me too, right? Then I have something really fun I want to show you guys. I've taken some of the flowers that we didn't really use, like the lily and the hibiscus and some of the branches, and I've arranged them for you. So I wanted to show you how I did that and the type of vases I use and give you some tips on that. Then we are going to do our Q&A. So go ahead and hold your questions. Well, you don't have to hold them. You can type them in now, but know that I'll be answering the questions at the end. So go ahead and type your questions in. We'll be grabbing the ones that, some of them might be the same, so we'll kind of pick and choose. If you don't get your question answered, don't worry. We'll make sure and get them answered later. Then I have some announcements, and I have a very exciting announcement for you. So if you aren't able to stay the whole time, make sure and pop back and watch that because you'll want to see it. So should we get started? Yeah, everybody? Whew, okay. All right, so you know how I keep telling you to just stay with the process and just enjoy the journey and don't feel like you're behind and rushed. I want to let you know that I am human. I finished making these at 9:30 last night. So yeah, I kind of rushed them through. But I have a lot of things I'm juggling. So they're done, they're ready. I'm super excited to show you what we're gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna put my notes away. Let's talk about containers. I'm gonna move some of these over because I'm gonna bop over on this side. All right, so in the photo, I showed you guys these containers right here. I showed you these two containers. And what I'm looking for to do this type of arrangement, because there's several different types of arrangements that you can use with your flowers, but when I'm using live greenery and I want my vase to be full and compact, I like a wider necked vase. So yes, thank you, Matthew, this is perfect. So I'm showing you three different versions. And this is because if you try to get all of these things into a narrow vase, it will just get so packed, and then the stems will stick up. Can you show my face for a second? The stems will stick up like this, and you won't be able to get that fullness that you want. So if you want this beautifully sort of domed arrangement, you do have to have a wider opening. So that's why I've picked out these three. Now, these are the two I'm working with today, but I saw this one last night. I'm like, you know what? You could use this type too. So walk around your house, see what you have. This used to be a vessel with a lid on it, but the lid didn't fit, so it's just been sitting around, and I thought, okay, this is a great one. I have a couple of these pots around. So that's how you pick your pot. The other thing that you want to consider when you're picking your container, and I'll just use this one as an example. When I make my arrangement, I know that I want a container that is less than half the height. So my height of my arrangement will be at least this high. It can be higher. I wouldn't go a lot higher. So I would say, I don't know, between, where's my ruler? Anna, can you grab me a ruler? I know you guys love measurements. I wing it, but I know you love measurements. Thank you. So my pot here is, go this way, it's about 5 inches. So I know that I want my arrangement to be at least 5 inches tall, and I would probably go up to 7. Then when you're doing this type of arrangement, and this is just a rule of thumb, you can always break the rules, right? Once you get really good at it, you can break the rules. You would want your arrangement to be wider. So I could go at least 2 inches wider up to, I would say, maybe 7, 8 inches wider. You could use this container to make a really wide arrangement. I do have a video, maybe we can get a link for that in the feed, where I show how to make an arrangement in a really long trough, and it's using some of these similar techniques. So we'll make sure you guys can see that. Okay, so the next thing is, in order to keep all of your stems and your flowers inside this vase, because this isn't, you can't just stick them in there and they'll stay, they'll just fall out. We have to make something that I call a cage. So there's a few different techniques. Oftentimes, this is my go-to. We'll start over here. My go-to is using chicken wire. And chicken wire, I buy it in a roll like this, and this is a craft / chicken wire. I got this on Amazon. We have a link for you guys. And then you'll want to cut it. Don't use your little small wire cutters that we use in the class, because it will ruin them. But cut a piece. It doesn't need to be round. Then you'll just, maybe use some needle nose pliers to bend these down. Maybe wear some gloves. It's pretty, you can cut yourself with this. And just make a basic shape that fits this. But you'll want to make sure that it fits tightly. You don't want it to fall down. However, there is a little trick to this. Grab some Scotch tape. You can take one of the bits of your wire and actually tape it to the edge to keep it in place. So that's an option. The thing that I love about chicken wire is you can use this for any shape of vase, where if you use something like these really great cages, you have to make sure it fits your vase. So that is a technique. Another technique that is also very handy is using this tape. This is a waterproof tape, and it's made for florists, and this is what they actually do with this, is they actually make a grid on top of their vessel. This isn't quite as sturdy as the chicken wire, so if I use this technique, I might want to keep it to a smaller opening and not a really big one, because it might be a little too soft. So this is easy to tear, and you just make a grid. And one of the things I want to show you is after you make your grid, there's a lot of tape hanging down on the sides that you may not want to see. So just get your, I have one more piece of tape there, but I want to keep working. So just take your X-Acto knife or your craft knife and just cut those off. And you can cut them off pretty close to the top and just peel them off. And that's how you would prep that so that it doesn't show. Another thing too is, how I showed you the Scotch tape. For the chicken wire, you can also use this tape. So these are 2 good tapes. If you don't have this, use the Scotch tape. I think this is my preference. And then the third one is this beautiful, this is a floral pillow, and they actually put foam inside of this, like a water-soluble foam that can hold water for fresh flowers. I'm not using it that way. I'm just using it as a cage. So I'll go ahead and take some of my tape here. Since it does slide around a bit, you do want to secure it. And I'll do the same thing, just make sure it's taped on a couple edges. I'm trying to decide which container I want to use today. I think I'll use this one. This one's a little more unusual. I don't know, what do you guys think? You want to make a vote over here? Should I do this one?
Yeah, I think it's fun. We do have a lot of questions on where do you buy your containers?
Yes, that's a good question. Yes, I'm going to go back on my questions. If you have a question that relates to exactly what I'm working on right now, absolutely, Anna will shout that out. I think questions that are not on topic of what I'm talking about, I do want to answer them, and we'll answer those at the end. So my vases. Well, this one was at I think we ordered it online for styling, and this one was Hayneedle or Wayfair, one of those two. But again, I've had it for years, so it's just been sitting around my house. Most of the vases that we buy, I would say at least 50% or 60%, we get it at our flower wholesale shop because we do have, you know, the license. And you can probably go to some of your favorite florists and see if you can find some vases there. Also, I think West Elm is one of our favorites. Anna, you can pop in because she also helps me pick out vases.
I would say anything from West Elm, All Modern, Amazon.
Yeah.
We also find a lot of Home Depot, Lowe's.
Or even if you go to the discount home stores like Home Goods, places, Marshalls, places like that. And since we do this as a business, we're always keeping our eye out. I mean, if you've watched my video tour of my craft room, you've seen the wall of vases we have. So you don't need to be that way. Don't be like us. Don't do what we do.
Yes, and
it's a little bit of hoarding. Yes.
Also, like, you know, thrift stores or
yes.
Goodwill or places like that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, we tend to, you know, when I buy vases, we do buy a lot of white vases, and then we'll pick out a few different colors that we feel go with our color palette, like soft pink and all that. All right, so we have our vases prepped. The trick to adding crepe paper flowers with live greenery is that live greenery needs water, and crepe paper flowers need to stay away from water. So how do you do that? I did give you a list of different greenery that you can use that I think work best with paper flowers because they have a longer shelf life as far as wilting or drying, although, you know, obviously they will all dry. Some of them look great when they're dry. So take a look at that, and sometimes you may not even want to put water in, but today I am going to show you a technique of how you can use water. Okay, that's a lot. I have to move things around, but hold on one sec. Let's do this first. So, a couple things. These little water vials, they're called Aquapic. You can find them on Amazon. If you just want a handful, go to your florist and ask if you can buy some because I know they'll have them. So these are to put water in to keep your flowers, you know, so they have water. We're going to use it as the opposite. We're going to put our flower in so the water stays out. I think this is a really great technique to use if you're doing an arrangement for a wedding or something that the flowers need to be sitting there for a while and you can't really watch them. If you are doing or they need to be moved and you need them really secure. If you're doing an arrangement just for your home, or you know you can keep your eye on it, another technique that you can use is just to take your floral tape. And this is where I would say pick the color you don't use very often, okay? Because you won't see this. So if you have a pile of a certain color that you rarely use, and I would just tape this off. Now I tell you, this is not, I would not stick this in water, but it will help ensure, well, not ensure, it will help keep the water away a bit more than if you didn't have this on. How's that? I'm not going to guarantee it, but it is a really good way to just seal the bottom of your flower off so that you can help from getting it wet. Then the technique that I usually do for this, and this is what I'm going to do today, is I actually keep my stems from touching the water by bending them. And if I did that, I would put tape on this too. But whatever stem comes down, I actually use the cage and the greenery to kind of nest, to make this nest so that my flowers sort of float above the water. And that's what I think works the best. This works great for other, you'll want to like know exactly how long your flower is before you put this on because you don't have as much breathing room. But you have to make sure that your cage will allow for it. So I might do a combination of these two. All right, so with that said, shall we put some greens on? I'm going to move things around, but I want to show you guys. All right, this right here, this is almost an arrangement in itself. And I just you know, put them in this little vase, and there you have it. There's no live greens in there, but Anna, do you have any other questions? While I'm moving things around.
I don't, but you have a video, and I believe it's in the iPhone course, where you talked about styling and the size of the vases versus the size of the flowers.
Yes, and I'm going to talk about that too a little bit more here. Yes, and if we can get that link in there, that would be good, because the more the merrier, right? This is a lot. I picked this up at the flower wholesale house, and if you guys, you can usually, well, not usually, I don't know what grocery stores are like in all of your areas and countries, but I would just go to the grocery store or go to your local florist to see what they have. This is a silver dollar eucalyptus, which is one of my favorites. So another thing you'll want to have if you're working with greenery, live greenery, is a set of clippers, or you can even use scissors if you want to. This is a brand called Klaus, and this is an actual floral. We got this at the floral wholesale house. You can probably find them on Amazon. So yeah, I talked about the size of the vase and the size of the arrangement, but what I want to do, this is a lot of leaf and it's very fluffy, so I'm not going to use the whole thing, because that's not going to work, right? So we have to cut it down, and you just have to kind of decide as you go. And what is really important is that you take the leaves off where the water will be hitting. So I don't mind keeping a little bit of branch here, because it will help build a structure as you put your greens inside your vase. But I'll go ahead and pull this off. And as you can see, we're able to see everything here, Matthew? Because I'm going to get really big. As you can see, this greenery, it's really floaty, and it's going to make us a really big arrangement. So that's good. We're going to make an impact with this thing. Now I'm just going to put them in at an angle. You can see how I'm making the lines of this arrangement go sort of out. You want it to flow. And I'll just keep cutting these, cutting the stems and tucking them in. I probably won't use this whole pile. I don't know yet. We'll find out. I'm going to guess no. So as I'm doing this, Anna, are there any questions that people, but this is a good time to ask your questions about this. Other than just tucking it in and making a nice nest for your flowers, the only other tip I would have, beyond what I just told you, is to try to make for sure that by the time you're done, your cage is covered. You don't want to see that. So you might want to cut some shorter stems at the end and just tuck them in really tight. This isn't a dense flower or greenery. It's very light and fluffy. I guess. Can I say that about greenery? It's light and fluffy.
Somebody just had a great suggestion. Because of the lockdown in the UK and no floor is open, I'm going to make Megan allow you to look this in Crepe from yesterday's post.
Yes, that is such a good idea. We have several different, we actually have a silver dollar eucalyptus. Is that what you said? Mm-hmm. What was yesterday's post? It wasn't the silver dollar eucalyptus.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, okay.
We have a few different eucalyptus on our site.
Yeah, we do have a crepe paper silver dollar eucalyptus, and I did send that link to someone yesterday, so that's probably what they're referring to. So I'm just turning my vase, and I'm creating, you know, this dome shape. Okay, let's talk about that. If you're a beginner at flower design, I'm just going to try and share some tips with you guys that I used when I had my flower shop. A really good beginner design style is to do a dome. So here's your vase, and then you do a dome or a triangle. That's an easy one. It's eye-pleasing. It's always looks lovely. It's a good standard to go to, you know, go back to whenever you're not sure. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm creating this floral leaf dome. This smells so good. This almost makes up for the fact that our paper flowers don't have fragrance. This one's sticking up a bit high for me, so I'm going to pull that one out. I'll cut that down and tuck it in. Okay, it's looking pretty good over here. I think that, you know, silver dollar eucalyptus does dry fairly well. I mean, it looks, if you touch it, you can tell it's dry, but it looks pretty good. You know, people have asked, would I use silks? Yeah, you could use silks if you wanted to. I don't love them. You have to get really good ones. Sometimes they look good, sometimes they don't. But there's something, I don't know, just artistic about mixing the live greenery. Okay, there we go. There's that. There's that side. All right, here's another little place that's bothering me. So rather than pulling it out, I think I'll just cut it right here at the angle and then use that stem. When you slide your stems in, make sure they do hit the bottom of your vase so that you know that they're getting water. I don't know, what do you guys think? How are we doing?
I think it looks wild and crazy and I love it.
I know, which I feel like this style of wild and crazy, I picked this eucalyptus partly because it's one of my favorites, but also because these peonies also have that wild and crazy look to them. Now, if I wanted to, I could go higher. I could go a bit denser in this area. I might go ahead and add some greens back in after I'm done, but for now, I think I'm gonna pause and start adding my flowers. Okay, I haven't done anything quite this big. So, let's see if I can do this backwards. All right, when I design, one of the things that I like to do is integrate the vase with the greens and with the flowers so that it doesn't look like a bouquet perched on top of the vase. So my first flower, and this one you'll notice, I'm going to actually use the one that I taped because that would be a good, yeah, this one. So I'm not cutting the stem off, but what I am going to do is put it in at an angle. So there is no way this will be hitting the water. In fact, it's coming out the other side, which is kind of awesome. And then you can also use your wire to bend it up just a bit to tuck it right in where you want to have it seen. So I like to see how it sort of integrates into the vase, but yet there's still greenery on top. I think that's a really nice place to start. I might move things as we go, we'll see. So let's see here. I'm gonna bend this one because I want my next one to be a bit higher. And I'm gonna go ahead and use the floral tube on this one and slide this in to here. I need to see the front too. Matthew, if you can flip back and forth just so I can see what I'm doing since I'm designing backwards here. Okay, I like that. So I'm just gonna have one floating here on top. That's too low, so I'm gonna pull this off and make my stem longer. I'm making it up as I go. But I have some design concepts, so I kind of know what I'm planning to do. It's just sometimes you want the flowers to speak for themselves too. Okay, that looks pretty good. Another thing that I like to do when I'm doing an arrangement is form somewhat of a triangle with the flowers if I have 3 focal flowers, and I did talk about that in your workbook. So what that does is it gives the eye a really nice ease of moving from one to another in a triangle shape. However, I don't like an even triangle. It looks very stagnant, so you might want to tip it a little or have 2 closer than the other. So in this case, I'm just going to rotate and move my front just a bit. And let's see here. This is a very low bouquet. I do like it there though. I love the way it's kind of, again, hanging off the side. And here we go. It's coming out the other side, and then I'm just going to take that wire and bend it back in. You'll need to remember to unbend it if you want to take your bouquet apart. Okay, there we go. This one I'm feeling like I want a bit higher, so I'll pull that back out. This is the problem when you have too many things, because then, okay, I can't pull it out because it's a little jammed. So I'll figure out a way to kind of prop that up. I'll use some other flowers or some greens here. Okay, I'm going to pull some greens and use this as kind of a little pillow underneath my flower head. See if that works at all. Okay, if you're doing this for an arrangement that you're taking somewhere, obviously you want that to be more secure, and it might even be worth it for me to wrangle it out and reset it, but I don't want to do that on video because it'll take too much time. So here we are. So we have our nice little triangle. I do want it a little bit higher, and you can see how these two are a little bit closer together than this one. Then the way that we make this flow together is by using a filler flower. I will say that I probably wouldn't usually call this a filler flower. I mean, they stand on their own. They're beautiful. Filler flowers might be more like a wax flower or a baby's breath or something like that. But I didn't feel like we wanted to make that type of thing here in this class because it would just take a lot. I have 10 of them. I may not use all 10, but I wanted us to have enough. I'll tell you, last night when I was making all 10, I became an expert. At some point, I'm going to show you my first one versus my last one because this is why practice is so good, even for me, and I've been making flowers for how long? I just got really good at it. You know, I got into a flow, and I'm hoping that some of you are finding that as well. All right, designing flowers backwards. All right, here we go. So adding in the filler flowers is how you get the flow from one flower to another. Now, these stems are not long enough to hit the water, so I'm not going to worry about them. But if you are, definitely use these tubes. And I'm going to just pull these out. Can I turn it around and do it? I don't know. Can I? So I can see it? I kind of need to. Then you're going to see the back side. Can you just go overhead, Matthew? Okay. I'm going to do it this direction, and then I'll turn it around so you guys can see the front. So I'm going to just use my eye, and I like to cluster. I like to cluster, say, this flower and this flower together, and then also make for sure that I'm thinking I can prop this flower up better. Yeah, there we go. You want this my direction? Yes, there we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so as you can see, I'm just creating this flow, and the beautiful thing is if it doesn't quite hit the right spot, you just move the wire. So you can see now there's sort of a flow going from flower to flower. Now, when I talked about in the workbook, I talked about your focal flowers being front and center. When I say that, you know, you can see how front and center, but they're sort of off center, but the triangle itself is sort of front and center, and that's the look that you want to create. If you can also rearrange one of your flowers to get a little bit more view. I'm going to cut this off. That's another great thing about these is you can cut them and add them. I also love to see width with my bouquet by adding flowers that sort of hang out the side. Another thing I wanted to mention, I'm not going to do it today, but if you feel like you need more, just go ahead and add some wire to the end of your flowers so that they can hang in there really solid. I've never done this live, you guys. I usually do bouquets when we do pre-recorded videos, so I'm a little nervous, just a little, because I feel like I want to move some of this. This is why it might be good to watch this video ahead of time. Let me make the mistakes, and then you guys can have a perfect bouquet when you're ready to go. So just hang in here with me while I design. Anna, any other questions going on? I don't want to do that.
Do you have any suggestions for other greenery if you don't have utility?
Yes, there is a list of greenery that I put in your workbook. I believe there's maybe 10 or 12 different varieties. I didn't count them, so you'll have to do that. All right, you guys, I just used all 10 of the flowers. Now, this bouquet does not have a back to it. It only has a front. But you could also add more. So there we go. Very light, fluffy. That was easy to do.
We have a very funny comment.
Yes.
Yeah. From Carol. Hi, Carol. She wrote in, I honestly think that Leah could throw them in the air, and when they land, they would be perfectly arranged.
Oh,
My
Carol.
arrangements always look like a maniac had to go at them.
Well, now that you saw me in action, I don't always know what I'm doing, you know, like when I do technically, but I don't always know how it's going to look. You just kind of work with it until it becomes a bouquet that you're pleased with. And again, I would probably have this stem come up a bit more. Unfortunately, the fold that I put in it, I can't pull it back out because it's grabbing, but I would have this one stand up there we go. And you can add a few greens if you want to, but that's 10 roses. So I'm really glad that I did make the 10 roses, although I'm going to pull a few out because I want to show you another option. Any questions on this bouquet, on this technique?
No, I've enjoyed the journey and love the real life part of it.
Oh, good. Okay, so I'm going to show you one other thing. So this is just a small vase. Now remember I talked about doing these wide mouthed vases and how, you know, that's great for a really big, beautiful bouquet. But if you have a small vase, you want to make a small bouquet. This is my first one, so this is my number 11. I put some greenery, some live greenery. It works, it's just kind of free form. And then I'm just going to tuck a few of these in. In this case, I would probably put a water stem on the base of this and not put water in the bottom, and then I can take it out and refill it as I need to, or just let it dry. You could do that too. I'm doing this backwards as well, but this is pretty easy. I have to put this back together to photograph it for you guys. I will photograph this and have it ready for you so you can refer to it again. We'll do that after we finish here, but you can just tuck a few in. So we have the rule of 3, 1, 2, 3. It has a very free form flow and it's beautiful. You could give that as a gift. So, all right, did I cover everything in the arranging? Should I look at my list here? Yes, I think I did. So proportion and placement, again, just make for sure that your vase is a support and not the focus. You want your flowers to be the focus. Another reason why I like to bring my flowers down lower, almost overlapping the vase, kind of layering the vase. All right, Anna, should we bring out our other flowers to show off?
Yeah.
So, okay, let me have the hibiscus first. So some of you have been asking what to do with your flowers when you're done. And this is a very simple, lovely way to display a hibiscus. And I think we've done this multiple times in some of our photos. I like these little egg-shaped vases with a very, very tight, you can see here, I'm doing a little over, yeah. Very tight hole on the top that just holds one stem. And when I use these, I bring the flower bloom right to the bottom and let the, you know, the bending of the flower over the vase, kind of again overlapping it, really integrates the vase and the flower versus it just perching up on top. So there's one. All right. Then let's have the lily. So this was a fun one. This is partly why I was still making flowers at 9:30 at night, because I was working on these. It was like a last minute thought. All right, this is my little faux ikebana. I would not say that I'm good at that, so because I'm not certified, but just a very simple 3 parts. We have 1, 2, 3. Since this is almost a focal flower, because it is a stem, you can count that as 3, and we have, you know, this very simple arrangement of 3 flowers, and it looks beautiful from all sides. I just made some quick little leaf stems. They almost look like bamboo, and tucked them in there. In this case, since this is all crepe paper, I filled my vase with rice. We have a really big stash of just inexpensive bulk rice that we keep here, that we fill our containers with, so that when we make arrangements, they just easily slide right into the rice and hold versus, you know, flopping around. So there's that one.
We do have a question on the hibiscus.
Yes.
Why do you not have more greenery in there?
You can if you want to. I think that the hibiscus itself is so, I don't know, it's such a prominent flower. You could put another leaf if you want to. I think this looks great by itself, and yes, you can put another leaf. Now, I just broke the rule of 3, and I have 2. I think there's sometimes that you can break that rule.
And then we have a question where the egg vase is from, and I remember that we bought that one at West Elm.
West Elm, yeah, they do have a lot of egg vases. All right, next, let's do the other blooming branch. This is a very simple technique. I think this was a West Elm vase. Is that right, Anna?
Yep.
Love this vase. It's perfect. This is literally going to be in my house displayed because this is so beautiful. Again, I filled it with rice so that it doesn't flop around, and then just slide my stem in and I have an arrangement. You could put another stem or two if you wanted to. That's fine. Yeah. All right, and then I'm just going to show off the last few pieces even though you guys have seen them. And then we'll start our Q&A. For some reason I thought this would go on and on, but I must talk fast. I don't know. And then okay, there's our tulips, and then of course our wreath. So there you go. What do you guys think? Whew, I'm gonna take a breath. Any comments, Anna, or questions?
Yeah, we have a request for a member make Ikebana styling.
You know, that's a great idea. I've actually thought about getting certified in Ikebana because it is something you do need to be trained on to be an official, but I just kind of wing it. But I think that's a great idea. I think it's a beautiful way to use a minimal amount of flowers and create an arrangement. So thanks for that idea. Yes.
So just lots of really wonderful comments. Thank you, everybody. We do read them all, and it really warms our heart to hear.
Yeah.
And to see the progress you've made. So thank you again for all the beautiful pictures and comments and emails we received. It really makes us happy.
It does. It does. And it makes it, you know, we're putting a lot of energy and thought behind this, and we want to make it perfect for you. So getting your feedback is great. I did want to ask, though, I did zip through that really quickly, a lot faster than I thought I would. So just to confirm, do you guys have any questions about anything that I did here on the table before we move into our Q&As? Any questions about this? And if not, we'll just roll into our Q&As.
We do have a question. Any idea for quince branch with a small stem?
With a smaller stem. So maybe, is it more similar to this? This is a smaller stem than this one. So I would just find a smaller vase. I think, look at the proportion here. Let's talk about that real quick. So the proportion of this vase versus the height of this stem, it's a bit more substantial because the stem is longer, but the stem isn't very wide. So again, just look at how your eye is pleased with the proportion of the vase versus the stem. If it's a shorter stem, you could go with a shorter vase, but just make sure that it feels like it's not going to tip over. Having the rice helps it not tip over as well. All right. I'm going to start the Q&A with a couple questions that we've already been given, just to cover those, and then we'll start answering your questions.
I do have a question here.
Yes.
When do you add the water to the low vase with the light greenery? Do you do it at the beginning or once the arrangement is finished?
I do it at the beginning. And if you need to add more water, I would use one of the watering cans that has a very small point to it that you can go all the way to the bottom, and make sure you don't put in too much water. Because I'm telling you, if you get these flowers wet, not a good idea. They'll be gone. So protect your stems, protect your crepe paper flowers as much as you can. I mean, I would almost, if I'm doing this for a wedding and I want the greenery to be nice and fresh, absolutely put water in it. If it's something that I'm like, oh, it could dry in a few days and be okay, then I may not worry about the water quite so much. So also, when you do a hand-tied bouquet, obviously you won't have water with your hand-tied bouquets. So that's something you'll want to, like a bridal bouquet. When I say hand-tied bouquet, that would be a hand-tied bridal bouquet. You would put your greenery together, I would say the day of the wedding or even the day before the wedding, so that it doesn't dry out too quickly.
Then we have a question, does it matter what type of rice you use?
No, I don't use my organic basmati though. I just use a very inexpensive rice because, you know, one thing, it actually, rice wicks moisture, which is actually a kind of a side benefit, but we love it because it's a small grain that holds the flowers really nicely and adds weight to the containers.
Yeah, so you can use rocks and stuff. It's actually easier to get the stems into the rice.
I would say don't use rocks because you can't put your stems in. I would say if you need to use sand, that would be an option as well. I personally like rice better because it slides, and so the stems slide in nicely, where sand sometimes gets a bit more compact, but sand might be another option. So I don't know, rice is just, it's easy, it's accessible, you can get it anywhere, and it has that little perk of wicking water.
Yes. And then, sorry.
Go ahead.
We have a question. Do you need to spray a UV protectant on the flower arrangements?
It's up to you. I will tell you that, as some of you know, the lighter colors, especially the pale pinks, do fade. There's nothing we can do about that unless we put a chemical in our processing of the crepe paper, which we're not quite ready to do yet. We're just not feeling the chemical yet because it's a little toxic. So a UV coating is a great way to preserve your color, but it's really up to you. We rarely do that here in the studio. Occasionally we will, but very rarely do we spray our flowers. If you want to preserve the color, I think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. And we have some questions about clear vases. What would we use? And we have some really great comments. Somebody suggested black rice.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've also had glass beads.
Yeah. We probably don't use clear vases as often for that reason, because of the stems, and often I'll want to bend my stem rather than cut it, because I might want to use it again and I want that stem, right? But then again, you can see what happened when I bent it. I can't pull it back out so easily. So yeah, you could do that. I tend to stay away from clear vases when using crepe paper flower arrangements, but it's up to you. Yes. Should we move on to our first two questions, and then we'll go to all the questions, Anna?
Yeah.
And any more questions about this? Absolutely. So one of the questions that we had is, how do we store our crepe paper and how do we store our flowers? So I'll show you how. This is my studio. This is how I store in my studio. I have, if you watched my video on my studio space, you saw that I have this cabinet that's called the Create Room, and this is the containers. You can actually buy the containers without buying the cabinet. I love this because they fit perfectly. I did rearrange it. Before, I had them laying down in the containers, which they also fit really well that way. But then I figured, that's silly, let's put them up. The other thing that I've just started doing, because I am working on becoming more organized as well, I save all of my plastic sleeves. I never throw them away. And now when I get my 10 packs out, I use those to put each color in their own pack. And I'm working on putting together a label system, and once that's done, I'll share that out with you guys. So I find that storing my crepe paper, this is my double-sided and this is my extra fine, and I have another one very similar for my heavy. I find that when I store my crepe paper vertical, I prefer that rather than horizontal, because then I can see everything in one glance. I don't have to dig through. Another way we've stored crepe paper, at least in the studio, is we'll store it horizontal, but so that we can see all the ends like this. And again, it gives you a really quick, way to see everything. So that's how I store my crepe paper, and I'm really loving it. I love keeping all the plastic sleeves. That's a new one for me. Otherwise, it seemed like the crepe paper would just get into a bunched mess and wrinkle, and this is just a great way to preserve it. So these little envelopes that you get in your single packs or your double-sided, they're both the same little envelope. Save them. They're very useful. Okay, Anna, and I'm going to hand that to you. And then as far as storing crepe paper flowers, that is always a question. I think, if you have too many that you can't display through your house and you haven't gifted them away, I don't lay them down in a box. I always feel like keeping your flowers vertical is the best idea. If you have, say, mason jars, or I'm trying to find a flower, but they're all used in, I have them all in use. You can just kind of have different mason jars set up. Try not to let the petals touch each other. You can set these in a cupboard, or maybe in your basement if you have a dry basement. Try not to let them crush each other. Sometimes that's harder than it is to let them crush each other. But once especially the extra fine crepe paper crushes, it's harder to get uncrushed. The heavy crepe paper does hold its shape a bit better. So again, my big tip on that one is store your flowers vertical. Don't ever lie them down, because when you do that, you will have a flat end. as far as if you want to ship your flowers, there's some tricks in that. Usually what we'll do is we don't ship them very often, but when we do, we'll put a piece of foam at the bottom of our box and then stick the flowers in the foam so they're secure, and then that keeps the air as the padding. You don't really want to put tissue or any other padding around your flowers. That's the best way to do that. You can also bend the heads out and tape them onto cardboard, which is another way you can store them as well. I've also seen a great storage idea. If you don't have quite as many flowers as we do, you can do a pegboard with large holes, large enough holes that you can slide your stems in, or some sort of hook to hold your stems, and have just a wall of flowers. But again, make sure your heads are bent out so they don't touch anything. So that's my tips on storing and shipping. All right, then what was my other question that I had sitting here? Oh, where should I go from here? Okay, so some of you, this is your first, well, I'll just stick it in. Okay, this is your first crepe paper flower class and you're excited and you want to make more. So Anna has prepared a glossary, and just the other day she set it up for you guys so that you can go into the glossary, and here we're going to show where it is. You can go into the glossary and see all of the paper flowers in type of paper, whether they be frosted paper. You can find it right there in the green section at the bottom of the page. So frosted paper and crepe paper, and then she has it broken down into the type of crepe paper: extra fine, double-sided, heavy. So there's a really great resource to go and look for flowers for you to start making. And I feel like for the most part, everything that we've taught in this master class has given you the tools that you need. I will say that some of our tutorials use an older technique, and what I showed here is probably our favorite and newest techniques. So if you see, oh, they used a different technique to make the inside of their flowers, pick and choose. You can try that one and see if you like it better. You can use the one that you were taught here in this class. All right, Anna, more questions?
Yes, lots of questions.
Okay.
And people have questions about the storage again. Bend the heads out and tape them to the cardboard. What does that mean? Okay,
so you can have, if this is for if you're shipping, I probably wouldn't put them on cardboard to store them. So say this is a piece of cardboard here, and I want to ship this flower, and I have maybe a dozen of them, and I find a piece of cardboard that fits right inside of my box. I'll bend the head out so that this does not touch the cardboard, and then I'll use like a washi tape or a masking tape that can be removed, and I just tape the stems onto the cardboard so they're secure and they won't move around. And make sure when you close your box, nothing touches your head. The best packing material for paper flowers is air. Right? That sounds so funny. Yes, you really want air to be the only thing that touches your paper flowers. So, yes.
All right, then we have a question about wires. When wiring leaves, some use bind wire and some use regular covered wire. What are some things to consider when choosing one wire over the other? Okay, so the question, I'll repeat it quickly, is just which wire, because we show both techniques of using the paper covered wire or the paper covered binding wire. And my answer to which to pick is, what do you like? What's your favorite? That would be my first answer. The second answer would be, if you want a leaf, say like our crepe paper eucalyptus, that has a really nice hang to it, you know, just like these eucalyptus where it's not stiff, it actually has a bit of a bounce to it. This is what binding wire is really good for, because it keeps things very soft. If you want a leaf that, like a sell-all leaf or a lemon leaf, that you want it to be a bit stiffer, we did use the bind wire on the sell-all leaves, but if you're making a big branch, you can use the bind wire between, but then I would secure it to a stiffer wire for the branch. So that would be my only thing. I would say if you want a softer leaf, definitely use bind wire. If you want a stiffer leaf, you could use either, but there's a few techniques, but the main thing is use the one you like the best. So I think they're both pretty amazing. We just discovered bind wire in a big way in the last year, so that's why we wanted to share it with you guys as an option. All right, then we have a question. We'll be checking in on the Facebook page to see how we're doing and to advise on our progress.
Oh, yes, we will. We are not leaving you guys. We've created a community on this Facebook page that we're hoping will continue and grow, and I have a bit to say about that at the end as well. We'll save that. Okay.
All right, and my question, would you be willing to give us a list of flowers that work well together, and what color combos do you prefer to put together?
Yeah. I think that color combinations are really a personal preference. You know, as you might notice, I love pink and white, but I could certainly, we tried to design, you know, our packs, our 10 packs, in color palettes that work well together. So you can start as a guide with that. You know, some of the tropical colors are a bit richer and darker versus the pastel colors, the English Garden. So you can look at those both in the heavy and the extra fine and see kind of color combos. Yeah, I would say start there, and thank you for that idea, and I'm going to put that on my list.
All right, how would you store 300 peonies for a wedding?
Okay, I would find a place, a nice floor space, or even a rack. If you can go and get one of those metal racks at IKEA and just stack them up, and maybe even find yourself some low crates or some low boxes that you put foam in the bottom, and you can just line them right up and just kind of, again, keep your heads from touching each other. Try to make it as compact as possible, and then just maybe stack them up. I would say definitely the rack, because you're going to use your whole garage if you have one, if you're doing 300 peonies. I can't wait to see the pictures. You better share them. I'm excited about that.
How do you store your wreaths?
Oh yes, there we go. Thank you. So wreaths, this one is a little bit easier. I find a box that's definitely big enough. You don't want your box to crunch your wreath. I stack that. I guess I should move my notes, huh? I just put it right into the box, and if it's a low box, better. If you can cut the box down to, we've actually been looking for wreath boxes. We haven't really found a lot of options out there. We might have to bring them in, but depending on the wreath, I will stack them, and depending on the flower, like this flower here, I could probably put 2 or 3 of these on top of each other, maybe rotate them, and I would put tissue paper between each one. But be really careful with that stacking. If it's a soft flower like your branches here, your extra fine crepe paper, you don't want to stack, but that would be what I would suggest. And put them in a box and close the box so that they don't get dust on them, for sure. We do save all our wreaths.
All right, then we have a suggestion. They want more UK makers with a lot of proper UK distributor of your product.
Yes. I would say if you can. This is on our long-term list of things to do, and if any of you have any connections or ways that we can talk to people in the UK, let us know, because that is something we want to do.
Yeah, so we actually do have a distributor in the UK, but we need more stores to pick up the product.
Yeah, we have a distributor over there that actually, kind of like the distributor we use, and that also sells on Amazon here. They do sell on Amazon a bit over there, but because our product line is only a small bit of what they sell, it doesn't always get the attention that it needs to, so we just need more stores to pick it up. But my point was, of the distributor, we do have a distributor. What we're hoping to find is some way to ship our product directly from the UK, so have a shipping company or a shipping department in the UK that can maybe cover UK and Europe, EU.
Yeah, if you have any volunteers, raise your hand.
I know, if anyone wants to go into the shipping business. No, that is on our list. Okay.
All right, does it matter if your flower heads touch each other in an arrangement like the tulips in the pot?
No, it doesn't. And, you know, I think when I'm arranging these, if I design them to touch each other, that's fine. What I found, because we've gone through a lot of flowers, and as some of you know, because you've watched me, I've moved a lot. We've ruined some flowers just because they touched each other in a way that wasn't pleasant, like it wasn't a plan. You want to go grab that? Sorry, you guys, my dog's barking. Someone just rang the doorbell. This is real life. Yeah, this is awesome. So yeah, you can go ahead and touch. And also you can see that on my arrangement, there's some flowers touching as well. But when you're arranging, do make sure that some of your petals don't get crunched too much. that they stay in nice shape.
All right, then we have the same request for our Canadian distributor. So we ship to Canada. We just need the stores to please create the demand. Ask at your local store if they would consider carrying it.
Yes, yes, it's all about demand. So I feel like here in the U.S., our brand has a bit more presence, so there's more people willing to carry it. In the UK and in the EU and Canada, they're like, we don't know you, we don't know who you are. So the more you request it, the more you ask your stores, the more opportunity it is for us to get over there, because we really do want to help serve you guys. Yeah. Anna, anything else?
How do we keep the crepe paper flowers from fading? I know we talked about that a little earlier.
Yep. That would be the UV spray. So if you're worried about, it's interesting. I was thinking about this last night when I was making my peonies. The color of pink that we have is a little brighter than I prefer. I like a softer pink. So I like it when they fade just a little bit. So if I were selling these flowers, or if I'm going to be doing a wedding with them, I would make the flowers, let them fade, maybe even put them in the sun for a few hours just to let them fade just a little bit, and then spray them. So there you have it.
All right. Do you have a technique to wire the flowers to a grapevine wreath instead of using hot glue?
Yes. I'll turn this over here. So in this one, I just slid it through and then I wired them. But in the class, let's see here. Megan and I did our master class where we did the heart. Let me just grab that. Or do you want to grab it for me, Anna? It's right over here.
Okay.
Sorry. I guess I could get up. I'm sort of stuck in here. They put a seatbelt on me. No, I'm kidding. Oh yeah, thank you. Give me the other one too. Okay, this is the grapevine, and you can see here. I'll put it upwards so Matthew, you can look at that. Let me turn this over. All my notes. You guys don't need to see all my scribbles. So you can see how she just wired and bent this right onto the grapevine. Can you see that? And the only thing, if you're going to see the back of this, my suggestion would be to have extra leaves that you arrange or glue onto the back so that you cover all of your back end. And then the front, you can see how none of that wire shows unless I tip it sideways, then you can see that one. But if it's looking straight on, you can't see any of that wire. So that's how I would suggest doing it. And that's how we did it, because you can't glue onto, I pulled some paper off so it got a little bit loose. I actually covered this with leaves, and then I needed to take a photograph of it for you guys or for our class, so I pulled them off and now it's a little wobbly. But you can see how I just wrapped all those around the wire, and then once I was done, I just covered that with leaves and I glued it, and that keeps it secure. So okay, what else, Anna?
And the next crepe paper masterclass, will it be a duplicate or will it be different?
Yes, so kind of the idea that we had is to create an amazing master class that we would be able to present again and again. It's less work for us, if we do something perfectly and then we can use it again and again. That's just a really great way to teach something without recreating the wheel every time. So this next one will be the same. We'll have some updates. I want to say thank you to everyone for being our first master class and for giving us all your feedback, and thank you for being our copy editors and finding little typos or mistakes that we made, because there was just so many things up in the air that some of us kind of dropped a few balls. So we appreciate you guys hanging in there with us and kind of being our first run at this, and also helping co-create this class. As we talk, the team and I talk about the success of this class, because it's been amazing, not only to watch everybody get so excited about making the flowers and seeing the beautiful flowers you make, but the community that was formed for this, that we can't stop. I mean, we have to keep going. So the team and I have been talking about, how do we do this? How do we continue to create these type of classes for you without killing ourselves, or without working longer hours and longer days. So, again, give us your feedback. In fact, I wanted to bring that up. Val is going to be sending you guys a questionnaire just to get some feedback, to see if there's anything that we can do to improve. It will be anonymous, so you can make any comments you want to. And we also are interested in, so she's going to send out a survey. So look for an email about a survey. It's not quite a questionnaire, it's more of a survey. And then also we're looking for, we're interested in any testimonials. If you guys want to share testimonials, you can send them over to masterclass. I think Matthew's going to pop that up. masterclass@leahgriffith.com. You can also ask questions over there if you want to. So go ahead and do that. Yes, Anna?
And then I just want to remind everybody that you do not have to finish this over 4 weeks. You have 3 months to take this class.
It's on my list.
So if you aren't finished, please don't worry.
Yes. So the next master class will start in May, and we'll be doing sign-ups in April. So we'll have the month of April for everybody to get signed up, to gather your tools and materials. We will have a bit of shift in the tools and materials because we're getting new products into our shop. So we'll be including those. So know that if you're planning to collect tools and materials, you might want to pause for a minute. But you can retake the class if you want to. That's totally open for you. And you do have until the end of March to complete this one. And once you've completed, you automatically get this certificate. I guess I'm supposed to show it this way. There we go. So it will pop up as soon as you finish the course and you finish all of your videos. This will pop up in your window that you can download this. It will have your name on it. It will say the date that you've completed this. So something to work for, right? And on the other side of this, I'm going to flip it over now, Matthew. There's my notes. So, okay. Any other questions that we need to cover? I have one more thing to. I have my announcements.
Somebody emailed in saying, I'm really enjoying the videos and learned a lot. I'm a bit worried about losing access to the videos after March.
Okay.
What options will there be?
So losing the videos after March, no problem. Just sign up again and you can have them again in May. Yep. How's that? All right. So the announcements were the certificate and that you have till March. You can retake the class. And then the final one is that we have had a lot of people asking about selling crepe paper flowers, and I can see so much. I love how crepe paper flower making is becoming more and more of an addiction. It's a good one. So a lot of people have been asking. So we've had this other program going on for a while, but for the last year we've been planning and arranging for this new program called the Craft Maven Circle. So this is my big announcement. Now, okay, can I, hey, hello. I'm kidding. Anyway, so we have this Craft Maven Circle that we're working on, and this will replace the Flower Circle because it will be much broader than that. So we don't have all the details worked out, but I will tell you it's going to be pretty amazing. It's more than just licensing the flowers so that you can resell them. We're actually working on a really robust program and circle where I can tutor you in business development, small business, and also just give you a lot of tools and great resources to start your micro businesses and make this new passion, make a little living off of it, or make some extra money on the side from it. So this is something we've been working on for a while and didn't plan to launch it quite yet, but we think we're going to launch the first phase here in the next month or two. And if you're interested, go ahead and email us. We will be sending out announcements to everybody who finished this class. And also just a note, this is exclusive to the people who have finished the master class. So this is just for you guys. And if you know people who would like this, we will make it exclusive for the next set as well. Is there anything else on that, Anna? Did I cover that okay, or am I rambling?
We still have more questions coming in.
Okay.
Would you recommend adding pan pastel to get a lighter shade of pink for the peony?
I don't think that pan pastel will lighten up the peony. It would be a lot of work. I think what I would do is, one, I would set it out in this sun for a minute, not too long. Maybe test a small strip to see how long you need to let it out, and let the sun bleach it a bit. The other thing I might consider, this might be harder though, you would have to cover the center and then just lightly spray it with spray paint. But I would say the sun bleach is probably the best option because the pinks are the ones that fade. The yellows don't. So.
All right, did you make the hexagon wire wall hanging behind you?
I did not make that. I actually purchased that, but in our collection this next month in February, we actually have a smaller version of that. It'll be our first of many because we love them so much. Here, Matthew's giving it to me to show you guys. This is a smaller version, and this one is specifically amazing to use as a table arrangement. You'll see in our photos, this comes out, what, next Monday? Yeah? You'll see in our photos that we tucked little air plants and put candles in the center. You can use this as an arrangement piece as well. It is a bit softer, so to hang it on the wall, you have, Megan shares a technique to hang it on the wall. So this one's a bit smaller. So there you go, guys. Yes, we listen because we know everybody loved that. All right.
How do you make blue flowers?
Oh, blue flowers. I would use spray paint. I'm not a, we didn't include a lot of blue crepe paper. We have that lavender, but we don't have blue crepe paper just because it's not a predominant flower color. There are a few. So I would use a spray paint, a pan pastel, a marker, depending on what the flower is.
Yeah, I mean, we do have that kind of teal one in the botanical
We
collection.
do.
That's the closest.
Yes. Yep. All right. I think we'll take 2 more questions if there are 2 more, and then we'll probably wrap this up. And know that you can rewatch this. Matthew's going to take a minute to take out the in-betweens and make it a bit more compact. And we'll have this for you so you can watch it again. Any other questions, Anna, or should we close it up? So as I've mentioned before, gratitude is my word for 2021. And I have to say that I have so much gratitude for each and every one of you for being in this class, for participating. When I read some of your comments, I literally get teary-eyed because I'm so touched. There's nothing that brings me more joy than seeing you guys so happy and having such a great time, you know, filling your life with crepe paper flowers. So, you know, it's a win-win for everybody. So I just wanted to share my gratitude and thank you so much for being here. I'm getting teary. Ah. All right, you guys, we will see you on Facebook. Pop out. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Now that you finished the class, I think you all are ready to come to our member makes if you haven't already. So even though this is over, our member makes are once a month. Megan teaches, I kind of chime along. Sometimes I teach. We do a new flower, brand new flower every month. So this isn't stopping. Come see us at the member make. All right, now I'm done. Okay, bye.